It's time to talk about defense in depth. Now, in our previous session, we talked about cyber threats, attacks, and vulnerabilities. But in this lesson, we'll be focusing on the concept of defense in depth. So, what's defense in depth in the first place? So, it's a kind of strategy in cybersecurity where we provide multiple layers of protection against potential attacks. The idea is that if one layer fails, there are also additional layers to prevent or mitigate the impact of the attack. So you're not relying on a single type of control. So think about it like this. Imagine you're protecting a castle where there's only one wall or one single moat. That wouldn't really be enough to keep the enemies out. So you would need to have multiple types of defenses like walls, towers, gates, guards, and more, even more than that. And that also emphasizes the need for multiple layers of um, protection in cybersecurity. And actually, this is also a good example of how cybersecurity evolves over time as technology evolves. Think about it. When, in the medieval eras or olden days, when it was about castles and, armies on horses and everything like that, this would be enough to protect a castle. But when aviation as a technology improved, we were able to fly, planes were developed. It only took a matter of time before planes were used in combat. So to now protect a castle or something similar, you would need to have air defenses and air um, anti-aircraft weapons. So again, even if you have defense in depth, by the time technology evolves, um, you would also have to evolve to be able to keep up with the pace of potential attacks that could happen. So there's different layers of cybersecurity. If you're using the defense in depth approach, there's physical security, there's the network security, application, data security. Of course, there's also employee training, which is sometimes called the human layer. There's also endpoint security and identity protection. So when you're looking at physical security, this is kind of like securing the physical assets of the organization, um, controlling physical access to the organization itself, the resources, not just the servers, but to the building itself. So it consists of locks, you have access control systems, you have security cameras, you have sometimes biometrics or like places where you have to tap in your card. All those things represent physical security. There's also network security, where, of course, the computer network itself, which is the means of communicating between devices and computers, um, has to be secure because once you compromise that, be able to like disrupt or eavesdrop on communications. This consists of firewalls, intrusion detection and prevention systems. We have VPNs, and we have some segmentation techniques that we can use to make sure that even if one area of the network is breached, it doesn't mean the entire network is breached. We also have application security, and this consists of securing the software and applications, um, and use of secure coding practices to make sure that we are not leaving vulnerabilities in the applications that we develop. Think about it this way: let's say you had physical security on lockdown, you had network security, but the application itself that users use to access these systems are not secure, then that's a very big hole that you've left open. Most applications are open to the wide internet, so that's a very important attack vector that we need to keep in mind. So there's also data security. Um, we need to protect sensitive data from unauthorized access and theft. We use things like encryption to make sure that data is secure, even if the data gets somehow leaked. You want to make sure that it will be useless. So again, data security is very important because The layers that we put in defense in depth, at the end of the day, they still contribute to protecting the data, but you also have to think about the data on its own. How do you secure it? How do you secure data in transit when it's going over the network, or at rest when it's being stored in a database or storage? We also have employee training. This is where we make sure that employees are educated on cybersecurity. They know how to spot social engineering, and they are aware of suspicious activity, and they are encouraged to report any suspicious activity that they find. We also have endpoint security. Now, an endpoint is anything from a laptop to a phone to a tablet. All these things also need protection. There's all sorts of things like malware, malicious applications. There's vulnerabilities that could be on the device itself, um, and of course you would need antiviruses. You would need detection and response tools, so that if something is happening, something fishy is going on with a particular device, you'll be alerted and you would have the means to actually remediate that. So, identity protection. This is another very important aspect of security. I mean, think about it. We all have accounts that we use to access so many services. You have your social media accounts, you have your bank accounts, you have so many different services that you're using. Your psyche account, that's another identity, and these identities must be protected in order not to jeopardize security. So again, even if you have all those layers, you have the best network security, you have endpoint protection, you have data security. All it takes is for the wrong account, or a single account to get compromised, and a threat actor could just immediately gain access to data without having to try to breach the network. Um, so, in conclusion, defense in depth is an effective cybersecurity strategy that involves all the different layers of security, and we have to think about it in a holistic way. um, and we want to make sure that we're protecting all the layers so that we can better protect ourselves and our organizations from cyber attacks. Thank you, and we'll meet in the next session.